This is Gene Bailey. This is a TV show called Flashpoint, which is owned and operated by Kenneth Copeland. So I wanted to listen to what they had to say. This episode is titled Flashpoint, Protect Our Kids, Nashville Attack Aftermath. So let's listen to what they have to say about this. You know this is not going to be pretty, but I feel it's our duty to see what the right is saying right now. If you're watching this 5 years in the future or something like that, there was an attack on a school by a trans person. I think this is, how many attacks is this? 1966 to 2020, there were 402. They've resulted in 1,449 deaths, 3,590 victims, both injured and killed. So those are the statistics. And out of those 402 attacks total, since 2020, there have certainly been more since then. 3 of them have been trans, to my knowledge. 3, or maybe 4. And, of course, the one thing that Republicans are laser focused on right now is the fact that the latest one was a trans person. And they're claiming that being trans is the problem, rather than the fact that there's a gun behind every blade of grass. So what we're going to listen to here is Republicans try to divert attention and propagandize about trans people and attempt to blame the trans community for mass attacks rather than guns, which is where the blame belongs. Because 3 or 4 people have claimed to be trans out of 400 mass attacks since from 1960 to 2020. That's not even all of the attacks. I'm not including the following few years after 2020. So anyway, let's listen to what they have to say about it now.
Let me show you what Kevin Sorbo, our friend, posted out there.
Oh my God, Kevin Sorbo, dude. This guy has problems.
Of the other Now look at this tweet. Colorado Springs, he identified as non-binary.
Oh my God. No, that guy was not non-binary. He very obviously hated the LGBT and trans community openly. He was using that as a method of escaping a hate crimes charge. Now, the other 3, that's a total of 3 people, 3 actual trans attackers out of how many? 400 in 2020? I mean, up to 2020, not in 2020. 400 up to 2020. So how many now? I'm not even sure. A lot. 500 maybe? 600? Who knows how many attacks? And out of those attacks, 3 apparently were trans. Actually. I love how they're willing to use their proper pronouns when it comes to attacking somebody and demeaning them, or when it comes to attacking a whole community and demeaning them and trying to link them to violence and stuff like that, right?
Denver, trans. Aberdeen, trans. Nashville, identified as trans. You can see.
I mean, if anything, this should show you a pattern of white, straight, cis, right-wing evangelical males being a problem in society, right? But nobody brought that up. Nobody pointed out. Well, I guess, there has been a concerted effort to point out that Trump supporters, right-wing extremism, and racism and bigotry have been a source of hatred. But no one is targeting anybody because of their identity specifically, except the right.
Trans. Nashville, identified as trans. You can see there are pictures there. We must understand this is not just, let's just get along. Now, Lance, I want to be careful how I say this. I know people. Let me put it that way. I know people, they're like, you know what? You guys are just too strong. You come out against this. We need to be understanding. We need to put our arms around these people. And I understand that to a point. However, this is, going back to what you said, demonic influence right here. You can tell by that tweet, her last tweet, she was greatly troubled. She didn't know.
Oh, so was the, what do you call him? The Buffalo, deeply troubled. And you know what? He was a massive Tucker Carlson fan, massive Trump fan, talked about these people constantly. and how fantastic they are. I mean, his manifesto was full of racist, hateful garbage, nonstop in his manifesto. And that's just one example. To my knowledge, the majority of hate crimes and violent extremism in the U.S. Over the past decade have been perpetrated by right-wing extremists. How do you account for that? They're trying to pick a pattern out of 4 people out of 400 is what they're doing. It's made up. It's a made-up pattern. And it wasn't even 4 people. One of them was attempting to escape a hate crime charge by claiming to be trans. There is no logic to be found here. This is only hate-fueled. Nothing more, nothing less.
Oh, she felt there was no way out. She had to go through with this.
And what is the statistic on this with people that are struggling with what used to be categorized as gender dysphoria, which is a disassociated identity?
Right.
And it used to be listed.
Disassociated identity, not to my knowledge. That's a totally different thing. Okay, there's disassociated identity disorder. That's separate to my knowledge. Gender dysphoria and DID are not the same at all.
It as a category of mental illness until the American Psychological Association got taken over by the woke liberal funding of the universities. And then suddenly, lo and behold, well, we don't know when a fetus is a life, and we don't think gender dysphoria actually is a disease. We think it's a misunderstood condition. And the reality is the rate is so high among...
I wonder why. Why do you think that is, Lance? Why do you think people are taking themselves out at such a high rate? He would never accept the fact that it's because of him and the things that he says about the community. He would never accept responsibility for his own wrongdoing, of course.
People with this disassociation, thinking you're in the wrong body. Think about how that would mess with your head every day that you wake up. I'm trapped. And someone finally explained it to me. For our Flashpoint audience, this gets very confusing on a binary and this and that. What are we talking about? This is someone who believes I'm a man with a female soul stuck in the wrong body.
No. Has nothing to do with souls. That's his description. There are like a ton of trans atheists. Souls don't factor in. What the fuck is a soul anyways? It has nothing to do with souls. It's about your brain growing one way when your body grows another way. And this is a well understood phenomenon that people have been experiencing for thousands of years, at least. This is not like controversial or questionable or misunderstood or any of that. That's just fabricated, what he's laying down for us here. But he wants to make it into a religious thing. That's the goal here. You know why? Because if he can make it into a religious thing, then it means that respecting people for who they are is heresy against his religion. If he can make it seem like it's a religion, then it's heresy to respect people. It's the same reason why they want to make LGBT people into a religion. Because if you can make it look like being gay is a religious choice, then it's heresy to respect people's identities or whatever.
Someone who believes I'm a man with a female soul stuck in the wrong body. It's like the stork delivered the wrong soul into my anatomy. Or I'm a female with a guy on the inside of me. And so that's what you have here.
That's what she said.
Therefore, you start taking chemicals and mutilating your body in order to match the two so that they come into harmony. Now, this is like, it's wickedness in a sense, because parents are setting up their children to question their identity before they have the ability to even own who they are. And unless you've got the gospel of Jesus Christ and a belief that God is your creator, you are totally vulnerable to that spirit. Because once you start to say, oh, I'm a girl in a boy's body or a boy in a girl's body, you're in agreement with a spirit. That's where that spirit realm comes in. Now you're dialoguing with a spirit and you think it's you. It's not too far down the road to see where or violence could possibly start to take over a person's mentality.
They're trying to make this whole thing into like a religious thing, and it's just complete nonsense, all of it.
It's true. Let me show you.
No, it's not true. It's bullshit. He just came up with that off the top of his head, and it makes no sense at all.
Let me show you these tweets. This is what we're dealing with. Look, you know what the left was posting today? Look at this, MSNBC, the previous post. You know, they're all four of these, the New York Times, Karen Lopez, CNN, Misgendered, USA Today, MSNBC. They're all focused on the misgendering because they're scared of what they're saying.
Hold on. Is this even... Police on Monday afternoon said the shooter was transgender man. Officials had initially misidentified the gender of the shooter. That's not them focusing on that. That's just them clarifying the story. You have to clarify the story, right? Gene Bailey clarified the story a minute ago. He said, just to be clear, so we're all, and understand what's happening. They were assigned female at birth and then identified as a man. That's what he said earlier. That's literally exactly what they're doing right now on this, in these images. They're just clarifying the story. They're not saying you must, blah, blah, blah. It seems to be just the right who has like this ridiculous obsession with like their gender. Like, I don't care what they were. They did something horrific. That's all I care about. And I am not using their proper pronouns for them. I'm using their proper pronouns for me. They don't seem to get the concept of just being a nice person, of just like trying to do your best for the people around you. They don't understand what that even means, seemingly.
Now look at this one. This one really makes your blood boil. The group specifically called for vengeance in Nashville. Look at this. VA Trans, Tennessee neighbors. When can we make this happen?
Okay, the attack happened on March 27th. This tweet is from March 22nd, 5 days before this happened. And they didn't specifically call for vengeance in Nashville. They were calling for a protest. This is a protest called the Trans Day of Vengeance. It was just the name of a protest. Trans people are not calling for violence against, the cis community. That's absurd. If they were, I would condemn that. Just like that. In fact, I do. I'll say it. I condemn violence against anybody under any circumstances. That's simple. Now, can they condemn violence inspired by Donald Trump also? It's really that easy. All you have to do is say, I condemn it, I denounce it, I don't want violence from anybody over anything. For some reason, to my knowledge, I've never heard these people ever condemn violence from Donald Trump or anybody else. Unless it was from, the side of the aisle that is like opposed to them or whatever. Or their perceived political enemies, probably a better way of putting it.
The Trans Day of Vengeance should take place outside the Daily Wire HQ. That was March 22nd.
It's the name of a protest. They weren't saying that they want anybody to attack the Daily Wire. And to my knowledge, that protest continued on. Poorly named? Maybe, but how would they have known that there was going to be somebody who's going to do something psychotic in the intervening 5 days?
Did you hear that? Almost less than a week ago, this is what was going on, Gary, calling for vengeance.
No. The complete misunderstanding. That was the name of the protest, not calling for vengeance. And for that matter, vengeance over what? What would they even be calling for vengeance over? I thought that, you weren't doing anything wrong. I thought you're just doing the right thing.
In Nashville. If it was the other way around, we'd have J6.
It has been the other way around. It has been right-wing extremists attacking people to the left of hunting the homeless for sport for the better part of 6 years at this point. It's been the other way around this entire time. This is one of 4 examples out of 400 or 500 mass attacks that have happened since 1960.
If it was the other way around, we'd have J6 and we'd be arresting Trump again.
Wow. Okay, that's funny. He actually cited a real example of it happening the other way around. That's actually really funny. So he seems to be self-aware. Maybe he shouldn't have cited an actual example. Maybe he should have just continued pretending that it's never happened on the other side. Just obnoxious, dude. There is no self-awareness to be had here. None.
So this is ridiculous.
Well, the reason that they want to do it at the Daily Wire is because of Matt Walsh. He came out with "What is a Woman?" and that kind of lit a fire that wound up with him doing a big rally down in front of the Capitol. And there were thousands of people that showed up. My wife and I went. Full disclosure, I knew it was going to get crazy, and I was right. Thankfully, my wife can out me on a good day, so we were cool. But it was amazing. The transgender community, which was shockingly small, I have to say.
Hey, you're starting to realize the trans community is, what is it, 4% of the population at most, right? It's really tiny. And you're blaming this ridiculously tiny community for all of your problems. Like, are you starting to realize how embarrassed you should be yet? Of course, that's not going to cross his mind. The fact that he should be embarrassed by his absurd talking points, that never factors into the equation for him.
It's a big voice. It's not a big group. It's not.
Exactly.
And I'm normally on Tuesday nights. I'm up at Kent Christmas's place. I'm on.
Oh my God, dude! Kent Christmas is the absolute worst. That guy is terrible. He's a televangelist. I have a bunch of stuff on him.
The deliverance team there, and we schedule deliverances on Tuesdays. We had an off night. Here I am. But I understand demonic activity on a very up close, consistent, regular basis. That whole area, we just decided to just march in because I just didn't want to be afraid, right? So we were literally shoulder to shoulder. I guarantee you that girl was there. I promise you she was there. My wife actually thought it might have been her at one point, but
They have no way of knowing any of this. Like, what are they even talking about? To my knowledge, there's no evidence that, like, this was, like, a politically motivated thing yet. I mean, maybe. We just don't have any information yet. We just have to wait and see. They're making a lot of unjustified assumptions right now.
Compared to some photographs, I don't believe it was, but there was a one of those people. I'm not sure what they were identifying as, but they were there, and it was so completely horrible to just sit there and put up with their incessant screaming and
wow, they feel exactly the same way. It's fascinating that you're starting to realize that when people scream like banshees randomly for no reason, it's really annoying, right?
There and put up with their incessant screaming and demonic activity.
Gary, we lost your video. I can hear you, but I can't see anything. Let me show you this as this activity was happening. Obviously, the nation was glued to their phones and their television sets and news channels. ABC News. Let me go to ABC News for the White House response to the. You're not going to believe this. Watch.
News of another of innocent school children, this time in Nashville, Tennessee. The president has been briefed on the situation, and our team is in contact with DOJ and local officials about what is known so far. We want to express the president's appreciation for the first responders and prayers for all the families affected by. Fantastic.
That'll solve the problem, right? Prayers. That's great. Thank you so much for praying. I'm so glad we have people praying to solve these problems. That's awesome, isn't it? Instead of actually passing legislation, which would contribute to solving the problem, we have prayers. Okay.
While we don't know yet all the details in this latest tragic, we know that too often our schools and communities are being devastated by gun violence. Schools should be safe spaces for our kids to grow and learn, and for our educators to teach.
All right, Pastor Hank, this immediately gets turned into, and this was just the beginning.
Oh my God, are they going to say political? It's too political after they've screamed at the top of their lungs since the moment it happened. about this person being trans. They're trans, they're trans, they're trans, over and over and over and over again. These people politicized this situation. And you know what? They're wrong here, but these situations should be politicized. There should be a political angle to this. How do we stop this kind of thing from happening? The fact that they claim you shouldn't politicize this is absolutely absurd and shows how ridiculous these people are as human beings. We should find a political solution to this so it doesn't happen anymore. This is the time to politicize this. Find a solution. I am sick of hearing about kids going to school and dying. I'm sick of it. We should be politicizing this as much as humanly possible.
The concern for let's ban assault weapons. It's horrible.
Yeah,
guns are bad.
Okay, so they've blamed the trans community, claimed that they're all extremists, and now they're going to attempt to debunk the idea that getting rid of guns would contribute in any way to solving the problem.
It's not the people, it's the guns that are jumping up there.
That's accurate. No, it's the people that are shooting them, but the fact that there are so many guns around every blade of grass in the United States makes it impossible to cut down on this type of situation happening. How many gun deaths have we had? 50,000 or 40,000, I think, right? Just in 2022, 40,000 gun deaths. We could very easily reduce that number dramatically if we reduce the number of guns. That's all we'd have to do. Institute a voluntary gun buyback program. They won't even take that.
People. I can't wrap my head around that's the response. That's the immediate response, not what happened. Where's the empathy for what was going on? And you're not hearing that.
I don't understand. There's a ton of empathy, and our response is to find a solution. The solution? Reduce the number of guns floating around in society.
Well, because, again, they're going to politicize it, and what they're going to do...
Yeah, absolutely we're going to politicize it. We should be politicizing this. This shouldn't be happening. Now is the time to talk about a solution. Now.
Do is go after the Second Amendment. That's why a lot of this stuff is spun as it is from the very people that are creating the problem. To Lance's point, here you have this gender mutilation. You're having hormonal changes going on in people's...
Right, and 4 out of the last 450 or so attacks, or 3 of them, really, 3 out of the last 450 attacks were trans people. An overwhelming number were inspired by right-wing extremist ideologies.
Bodies, and it's altering their mind, it's altering their emotions, their psyche, and then it invites demonic presence in, and then we wonder why we have this problem. But here's what they really need to do. Rather than, always go after, the Second Amendment, what we need to do is, what about strip some of these doctors who are absolutely bringing gender mutilation to children? What about schools that have in their...
They're not bringing gender mutilation to children. Like, that's completely made up. I don't want them to get away with a single piece of propaganda.
Gender mutilation to children. What about schools that have in their libraries? What about some of these...
What schools are you talking about? I haven't seen a single school that had any type of in their libraries. The f*** is he even saying? This is actually a claim from, well, it's been a claim being passed around by a lot of people, but Doug Mastriano, or he was a gubernatorial candidate, a governor candidate for Pennsylvania. He claimed that there was in school libraries the same exact way back in during the governor race. It's completely made up, all of it. There's never been like graphic material like that, like in these libraries. I'm going to have to mute that word every time I say it. This is it. This is 2022. It's early October 2022. Doug Mastriano campaign.
On day 1, the sexualization of our kids, pole dancing, and all this other crap that's going on will be forbidden in our schools.
Pole dancing, forbidden in schools. Dude seems to think pole dancing is happening in schools.
On day one, all the graphic books that are in elementary schools will be pulled out.
There were none. There was neither pole dancing nor graphic materials in elementary schools. This is all entirely made up.
On day one and done, critical race theory is out the window.
Critical race theory is a collegiate, graduate level class that lawyers can take if they choose.
That's right. Yep. Come on.
So anyways, that's like not the source of the claims. It's been circulating for a while, but that was just one more example of the right propagandizing about, all this stuff being in schools.
Democrats that are allowing this perversion and nonsense that is absolutely exploiting our children and hurting them. Why not stand up and begin to create legislation that protects children, families, schools? And how about this? I had my children in private education for years.
Oh, who would have expected? Of course you have your kids in private education. Of course you have your kids enrolled in like private schools, private Christian school, right? I'd be willing to bet. Because he doesn't want to get into the slums with regular people. Because this stuff happens a lot less in private schools than in public schools, right? And he wouldn't put his kids at risk, but he'll put everyone else's at risk. And he will do everything he can to propagandize and make it a more dangerous place for public students to be. This is like that one congressman recently who was asked, like, what are you going to do about this situation? And he said, well, I homeschool my kids. Okay, well, what about the tens of thousands of people you represent who can't afford to homeschool their kids financially or time-wise? He doesn't care about them. Doesn't give a shit. What he cares about is spreading guns as far as humanly possible to help the gun lobby and propagandizing for the far right. That's it.
My children in private education for years, and I got penalized twice. I had to pay taxes plus school tuition. Why not create something for those?
He got penalized twice. I had to pay taxes and school tuition. Give me a break. Taxes. You have to pay taxes whether you use services or not. That's just the joy of living in a government, okay? That's part of the deal. You live in a country, you have to pay into that country just like everybody else.
In private education that get tax breaks. But I'm telling you, we have to watch something, and that is this. We have to watch these who have an agenda for whatever reason to steal, kill, and destroy at the hands of the enemy, and they do it in the name of politics. I want to say this last comment.
Okay, they're making a big logical leap, assuming that, the attacker did this in the name of politics. To my knowledge, at this moment, there's no political motivation. Or we don't know of one. I haven't seen, like, the manifesto or anything, and I don't know what their deal was.
In Judges chapter 3, we find when the people prayed, God raised up the right governmental leadership to absolutely answer the cry of people who needed it. And it says that God raised up a deliverer. And I believe that's what God is trying to do. And it's why Flashpoint exists today, is because God is raising up deliverance to this nation. And it said this, when the deliverer came, it was a relative of Caleb. And God gave that nation 40 years of rest. This is not the time to back away. In fact, we've got to get into the scripture. Romans chapter 15, verse 4 says that we have hope in the gospel, in the scripture, and we got to bring hope by getting back into the sacred word of God.
I agree.
Well, I thought this situation made it completely clear that God is not protecting anybody from gun violence. How many Christians die per year from gun violence? Like an obscene number. This is affecting them personally and directly. Why are they still doing this? This is so deeply sad.
You're absolutely right. All right, can I go a little bit longer for the break? Okay. All right. There's good news coming, ladies and gentlemen, and you're hearing it eked out. Don't judge us yet on all of this. I want to play. All right, so you heard Corinne Jean-Pierre give.
Corinne Jean-Pierre. That's her name. That was a weird amalgamation of letters just kind of crammed together all at once. She's the White House press secretary.
All right, so you heard Corinne Jean-Pierre give her official what the binder had to say. Let's go. Now, I saw this.
What the binder had to say. What's he talking about?
Immediately after Joe Biden came down and talked into the press conference. Then it was suddenly gone, Lance, everywhere. It was gone off mainstream media. But we went to Australia and we found it again so that we can show it to you tonight. This is Joe Biden responding to the Nashville shooting. Watch.
This horrific story out of Nashville where a 28-year-old woman has dead 3 students and 3 adults at a Christian school. Now, news networks crossed to President Joe Biden, who was set to address the media on the tragedy, but instead they got this.
From the White House.
Okay, yeah, I don't know that this is even true. I heard this from right-wing sources. I don't know that this was actually from the event. I don't think it was. And either way, you know, I made jokes earlier. That sometimes jokes is how people deal with tragedy. That's how I deal with tragedy, through jokes. I don't see anything wrong with making jokes sometimes. It's a hard, brutal, ugly, horrific, sad situation we find ourselves in. If you can't make jokes, like I always say, if you can't laugh, you'll cry. If you can't laugh, you'll cry. You must find some kind of bright side, some humor, some anything at all to help get you through this, because it's not a fun situation that we have to deal with right now. I make all kinds of jokes on my channel over really dark. You know, I've been talking about cults for how many years? 7 years I've been talking about cults, right? I make jokes about cults all the time. I don't see anything wrong with that. If you don't laugh, you'll cry.
My name is Joe Biden. I'm Dr. Joe Biden's husband.
Again, I heard that this was from, like, his address about the Nashville attack. I don't know that that's even true. I don't think it is. I don't think this is from that. Maybe so.
And I ate Jenny's ice cream, chocolate chip. I came down because I heard there was chocolate chip ice cream. By the way, I have a whole refrigerator full upstairs. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. God. Ben, how are you, pal? One of the best guys in the United States Congress, Ben Cardin.
Wait, what's the screen say behind him?
Ben Cardin.
Building on the small business room? Is that what that says? What is this meeting that Joe Biden was holding? Is this actually from him meeting, like, what do you call it? Like, meeting for the Nashville attack? And what's more, Emily Neptune made a good point. Thought you shouldn't be offended by jokes, Mr. Flashpoint. Yeah, what happened to that? What happened to they're just jokes, don't get all bent out of shape? In reality, the right, especially Flashpoint guys, are the worst perpetrators of cancel culture. They are worse than anybody about it. It was an appearance at some business group. Right, that's what I thought. This is not a meeting about the Nashville attack. Joe Biden did respond to the Nashville attack, but this was not his meeting about it, to my knowledge.
You think I'm kidding? I'm not. God. Ben, how are you, pal? One of the best guys in the United States Congress, Ben Cardin. Folks, welcome to the White House. It's a delight to have you all here. And who are those good-looking kids back there? They're your kids, all 4 of them? Well, stand up, guys.
John, we'll jump back in here. Considering the moment.
Yeah, so from what I can tell, Fox News just responded or just like played something that was, I'm just guessing here, so take this with a grain of salt. Was Biden just like, is this what he was doing the moment that the attack happened? Like when George Bush was reading to a bunch of kids, like elementary school kids, when 9/11 took place. This was not Biden's response to it. I think that this is just them, I think this is just what he was doing the moment that it happened, right? This is nuts. This is like the most dishonest thing that I've seen from Fox or Flashpoint in a while. And that's saying something because they're dishonest for a living. That is nuts, man.
We were told that just happened, left 3 children dead, 3 adults dead, and we were told he would be addressing this off the top.
Oh, so they just admit that he's not addressing this off the top. He's not addressing this at all right now because they told us that that's what he's doing right now is addressing the problem. And that's obviously not what he's doing. Yeah, Biden should sue for defamation or something because this is insane.
Yeah, it's rather surprising. I thought that a somber President Biden would have come to the podium here and addressed the school.
Yeah, but that's not, he didn't even know about it at this moment. He was just addressing a group of like small business owners or something, right?
Kosher, he did eventually address but really, I mean, surely he would know the gravity of the situation. And
did he? Do we know that he was aware of what even happened yet? It's like George Bush when 9/11 happened. He was reading to kindergartners, and Secret Service comes in and whispered in his ear, "Sir, the U.S. has been attacked," or something to that effect. And he sat there reading to those kids for 11 minutes. Now, what could Bush have done to solve that problem? Realistically, Bush should have come out and tried to, figure out what the situation was, go to a situation room, make decisions for next steps. I mean, there was a bunch of stuff Bush could have done. But what could Biden have done? What could Biden have done in that very exact moment? Was he even informed in that exact moment? I'm not so sure. I don't know. It's like they're just propagandizing about him, finding reasons to hate the guy, when this makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's crazy to me that they propagandize so thoroughly like this. Like, really? God, I'm sucking at this because I'm not paying attention. I need to start paying attention.
Jokes about ice cream and good-looking kids in the audience.
Talk about being out of it. It's almost as if he literally missed the memo and he hadn't been told that this.
Hey, you ever consider maybe that's a possibility? Maybe he hadn't been told yet? Maybe they're waiting for after his meeting because this is already being handled by local police and law enforcement?
Has just happened, and that's why you saw the.
He needs the auto cue. He needs the auto cue. He needs the cards. He needs so much direction.
God, they are obsessed with making him out to be like completely incompetent. This is nuts, dude.
All right, Lance. When you see this, I mean, there are no words to speak about this. At first, you're mad, but then I'm like, maybe he didn't really know why he was there.
Well, that's weird because they just framed this as Biden's response. They said this is Biden's response. He's responding to what happened. He knew what happened and he was responding to it. That's what they said. Did they play too much of that clip? Did they mean to cut it off at like Biden's jokes that he was giving at this business conference or whatever? These people are absolutely shameless. It's insane.
It's a bizarre response. And of course, they cleaned it up.
It would be a bizarre response if it was his response to it. It's not.
Everywhere in America and make sure that wasn't out there. What's your thoughts there, Lance?
When Biden became president, I received a memo that was circulated amongst very caring Christians and scholars, actually, very bright ones. And they said, it's just inappropriate to make fun of his senility. It's not charitable as Christians to continue to assault his eroding cognitive ability because it just is uncivil to do so. So at a moment like this,
Biden's not senile. Biden's not suffering from dementia. None of that. They've been talking about this. I mean, the right, Flashpoint people, have been talking about Biden suffering from dementia since 2019, roughly, when the election started to ramp up, even a little bit before that, 2018, or maybe the very beginning of 2019, right? That's 4 years ago. Dementia, or Alzheimer's disease specifically, progresses in 3 stages, and they take about 2 years each. You'll start seeing early signs, and that lasts about 2 years until you reach the, I forget what it's called, middle stage, or mid stage or something. Then 2 years of that, and then you're in a late stage where you're absolutely incapable of taking care of yourself. You have no idea where you are or what you're doing or anything. You have to be taken care of by full-time staff. You have to, like, wear Depends because you can't use the bathroom by yourself and things like that. Biden is nowhere near that stage, and that's where he should be right now. For what it's worth, Donald Trump isn't in that stage either. Like, we keep seeing these weird glitches happening with him, these weird, like, behaviors where he mispronounces words, and that is actually a sign of possible early onset Alzheimer's or dementia. But after all these years, with Donald Trump being capable of taking care of himself still and not showing progressed signs, I don't believe either of them are senile. So I thought, like, after some amount of time, they would eventually have to give up on this nonsense. But I guess they're just going to keep talking about it no matter how, like, you know, in 10 years, Biden's still going to be the exact same as he is now. And they're going to keep talking about, oh, he's senile, he's senile. He's not. He's fine. I mean, he's slowed down a little bit with age, as expected. There doesn't seem to be a touch of dementia or senility or, you know, Alzheimer's or anything in there right now.
It's such an easy target to say, what the heck is wrong with him? Except I honestly don't look at Joe Biden like he's capable of being in a full-time job. This is what, in my dearest kind of context, I remember visiting my dad at the nursing home, and he was like 99 years old. And he could do, and I was just happy he was walking and talking and coherent. I didn't expect much out of him. I didn't expect him to understand context or timing or nuance or current events. I was just happy that my dad was able to walk around and talk about the ice cream at the place.
Sure, absolutely. That's nice, right? That it's good to just be glad to be around your parent. Except Biden isn't dealing with that. That's not a problem with him. If that were a problem with him, we would have seen a lot more signs up to now. He would never be in public. Never. If that were the problem. Now, we did see signs of that with Ronald Reagan. And in his final years, Ronald Reagan actually did succumb to Alzheimer's disease, I believe. There were very clear as day signs that he was suffering from it while in office, and Reagan should have been removed from office by the 25th Amendment, honestly, because he was very obviously dealing with Alzheimer's disease while in office. It's hard to hide at a certain point for such a public figure. This isn't happening with Biden.
That's how I look at Joe Biden now. So when he does behave like he doesn't belong in a full-time job, I just say the real sickness here is the people on the left that put him in office and that continue to prop him up or even talk about him running again. This is a nation losing its brain, frankly. It's losing it on the left. It's time for us to come to our right minds on the right and really start to call things out for what they are.
I think I got some of those same letters as well about Biden at the beginning. All right, we're going to talk
about Biden at the beginning. Letters? What are they talking about? I don't understand what they're going on about right now.
More about this after the break. We're going to bring in Sean Spicer. He's got some comments I'm sure you want to hear. But right now, because I've got a musician here, Gary Chapman, play us out to the break. Will you give us a little rip there on the guitar, and then we'll be right back.
You want a little something happy?
Yeah, a little something happy. Turn the tide. All right. Flashpoint returns right after this. Don't go away.
Dude, I love the guitar. I'm such a guitar fan. Interesting that they had him play something there. I wish they'd done a little bit more because just mad respect to guitar players, man. I love it to death. I didn't really learn to play the guitar, like, very well. Like, I'm not, like, you know, a master at it or anything, but I do love the guitar, man, really. The guitar is just a fantastic instrument. It's beautiful. It's underrated, and sadly, the guitar seems to be kind of falling out of favor right now. Like, new bands that form today aren't really playing the drums or the guitar or whatever like traditional bands did in, you know, the past like 20, 30 years. Nowadays, modern bands are mostly doing synths and vocals and stuff like that. It's like just a completely different like style of instruments, style of musical whatever. And I feel like the guitar is like largely losing favor, sadly. But I will always love the guitar. It's just a great instrument. You know, people probably said the same about the bagpipes back in the day. One day the guitar is going to be as hated as the bagpipes. One day. Why aren't they showing him? I would have loved to have seen, you know, him playing. That would have been really nice.
Now more than ever, it's time for the Flash.
Oh, God, that's the end, I guess. Yeah, so they went to a commercial break, and now they have a part 2. Usually they do a part 2 to this. But that was part 1. That was like the big... Oh, my God, dude. Okay, let me ask you that. Why are Christians obsessed with giving the Hitler salute all the time? I froze on a bad frame here, right? This isn't something they do normally. Maybe I'll just fast... Maybe they were just reaching out for something, and they're going to withdraw their hands again. Let's just watch this.
Now more than ever, it's time for the Flashpoint Army.
No, seems like they just flashed a bunch of people doing a Hitler salute. Okay, fantastic. There's that, I suppose. Anyways, yeah, Flashpoint is about as depraved as it gets. These people revel in having the most horrific, disgusting political positions imaginable. They love it. They eat it up. They're proud of holding disgusting positions. The far right at this point famously holds positions that the KKK held in 1982. The Republican Party of today is the KKK of yesterday. I just talked about this on my main channel not too long ago. The KKK in 1982, the Grand Wizard, like the leader of the KKK, did this interview with the news, with like some reporter, with CNN, and repeated all the same exact talking points we're hearing today from them. Seriously.
To get back to it, now just a minute, I answered your question. Now I want to finish what I was saying. We feel that affirmative action is discriminating against white people, and there is no question about it. Two wrongs don't make a right. Because black people were hurt and discriminated against in the past does not justify the discrimination against white people now.
I'm telling you, man, the positions of the KKK in 1982 are the positions of the Republican Party today. It is uncanny how similar it is. It's disturbing. Anyway, let me know what you think about it in the comments. I'm just like, this is just too much, dude. This is just bad.